Well, good morning again. And we've got a very jolly passage today. Going to read the whole of chapter 12 of Isaiah. It's just 6 verses, and it's all good. So enjoy. In that day you will say, I will praise you, Lord. Although you are angry with me, your anger has turned away, and you have comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. In that day you will say, give praise to the Lord, proclaim his name. Make known among the nations what he has done, and proclaim that his name is exalted. Sing to the Lord, for he has done glorious things. Let this be known to all the world. Shout aloud and sing for joy, people of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel among you. Oh, there you go. And as I've said before, in the midst of everything, in Isaiah we see that God has a clear purpose in end, and it's a good purpose. It's a purpose of salvation. And it is rooted in realism. Look at the beginning there. You were angry with me. We don't like the idea of God being angry with us. God was angry with us, and deservedly so. But the glory of the gospel is not that God was never angry with us, but that his anger has turned away and he has comforted us. We were sinners. We have been forgiven. And then we get the fruits of salvation. We say, God is my salvation. The Israelites were looking anywhere and everywhere else apart from God. And if we're honest, we can often do the same. But when our hearts are changed and when we turn to God and we look to God and we know that God is our salvation, so then we trust and are not afraid. That the Lord himself is our strength and our defense. You see, without God, we become rooted in ourselves. And that's a pretty poor foundation to build our lives on. But in God, we are then rooted in him. And he is the source of our strength and our defense, and he has become our salvation. And it says, with joy you draw waters from the wells of salvation. We do it with joy because it utterly transforms us. We were created to belong to God, to rely on God, to live in fellowship with him. And when we trust him, when we turn to him, we're starting to get back to what and who we were meant to be. So that's what God does for us. But that's not the end of it. Then goes on, give praise to the name, proclaim his name, declare among the nations what he has done. Sing to the Lord, for he has done glorious things. Let this be known to all the world. Remember that Jesus said, go into all the world, making disciples of all peoples, teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. And then at the end, shout aloud and sing for joy, for great is the Holy One of Israel among you. We can find ourselves mired in circumstances. And these days, some of us may well find ourselves mired in circumstances. Instead, we need to be immersed in God, covered in him, dwelling with him, trusting in him, living with him. For great is the Holy One of Israel among us.